In today's video, I want to tell you guys 7 things that I would do if I were starting my voice acting career today in 2025. You'll find out that there's so many things to learn, so many steps to take, and people throwing directions at you and you should do this, you need to do this, don't do that. It could be overwhelming. And so my goal in this video is to basically share my point of view of how I got to where I am in my career, and I'd like to hopefully help you with yours. The first thing, and probably the most important thing, is learn yourself. Find out what your point of view is before you pay for anybody's coaching course, before you pay for anybody's workshop, before you pay for any mastermind or boot camps or, God forbid, demos. We'll talk about that later in the video. You need to understand who you are as a person. Let's be real, guys. Acting is hard because you don't know how to use your imagination. It is hard to use your imagination because many of us have not used our imagination in years, especially if you are a person who's not in a creative industry. But even still, in everybody's life, there are countless experiences. And from these experiences, we gain insight into our emotions. And if you haven't talked about your point of view or understand what a point of view is simply who are you in a particular situation. If you watch my video that I just uploaded, and I'll link it up here. I'll link it there for you. Check it out. It's quite long, but it kind of goes into this thought process, albeit quite simplified. You want to tell stories and record yourself, and you want to find the point in the story where you discover the emotion that's driving that story. And that emotion is going to be a trigger for you whenever a spec calls for that emotion. And so one classic example that I love to give is my underdog story, where I was told by some people that were very close to me that voice acting is not a real career. It's not something that's going to pay the bills. And, the statistics overwhelmingly supported their point of view, but I never really gave up on that. I never, yielded and conceded to that idea. I just kept pushing it, and I knew I was going to find my way. And the result is I did. And now I'm sitting here with a sense of pride. And so I use that story a lot. Whenever a script calls for something like confident, cocky, self-assured, authoritative, it is calling for something with drive and energy and passion, I tap into that story, or rather, I tap into the emotion driving that story. That emotion is what's going to give me my point of view, which is also what's going to drive me through the script. And this is something that takes time. One of the biggest problems for new voice actors is they don't know what their point of view is. They don't know what emotion they should be carrying. They see specs, they're confused by specs. Be confident, conversational, and be youthful. Okay, it's so announcery and it's so inauthentic, and they wonder why they can't get shortlist. Before you go any further, you need to understand who you are. Spend some time with yourself. Understand that that's what's going to separate you from every other voice actor that's out there. All thousands of them. Your point of view is the only thing that's going to separate you, because believe it or not, you may have a nice voice, but it ain't as unique as you think it is. Okay, and if that's all you're banking on to differentiate you from other voice actors, well, you're fighting a losing battle from the get-go. The second thing you should know is you never want to quit your day job and jump feet first into voice acting unless you got a sizable nest egg to carry you through, because this industry will eat you up and spit you out with no money in your pocket. It happens to the majority of people who want to get into voice acting, especially those who are looking to get into animation and maybe video games. Commercial, it's still competitive, but animation, it's hard. It's really hard. And this is coming from somebody who's not in animation. I just know from other people that told me it's pretty bad in terms of competition, which means the statistics point to the fact that most people don't make a livable wage as a voice actor, you don't want to quit your job that's paying your bills. That's not to say that you shouldn't devote time to being into training and to learning your craft and to learning your software and how to use your microphone. But I do not recommend quitting your job and saying, you know what, I'm gonna do this. Especially if you have a family to support, if you have kids that you need to take care of, if you have a spouse that you need to take care of, you have responsibilities. Be an adult. Okay, adults don't just quit their job on a whim with no backup plan or no savings and decide I'm gonna be a voice actor. And it's my 41-year-old self talking to my 20-year-old self. It's just not a smart decision. Okay, but I'm never gonna say don't be a voice actor, don't try. But, keep a level head about it and be rational, guys. Real quick, if you're getting any value from this video, do me a favor and boop the like button. I hate saying boop the like button. Boop the like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, because it really helps me notice your support. The third thing, and this is something that I didn't realize for like the first 2.5 years of my career. Many voice actors will do an audition for some big job and not get booked for the job, and later find that job in the wild, and the actual spot is like toned down and it's so different than what the specs were calling for. This is a problem that I had early on. It was me seeing the specs for an audition and trying to play guesswork about what they wanted. And that's not to say that you should ignore the specs. Don't ignore the specs. But to go into an audition trying to read as if you had booked the job already, like what you read is going to go on the air, is a fool's errand. I'm going to be the first to say I have booked jobs that my audition file was essentially what they used for the final piece that actually went on air. That's happened, but it's rare. Your audition is what gets you in the door, and then you're going to go into a live directed session, and the casting or the director or the producer or the client themselves is going to direct you. Or there may be 10 people in the same call directing you, and the final read may be completely different than what they'd like your audition for. And so the audition is what gets you in the door, which means, going back to my first point, what is your point of view? Who are you? As DJ, as whoever you are watching this video, what story are you trying to tell? Something is in your mind and it's driving you. The words are just there. They don't matter. Your story is what matters because your story is going to color that script. If you go into an audition and try to say, okay, I should go up on this word and go down on this word, and it's gonna frustrate you. I see many people just spinning their wheels, just doing these announcer reads like, T-Mobile, we give you 5% off every time you get a new phone. T-Mobile. Many people will submit that because in their mind, that's what they've heard on TV before. So I just need to copy that and I'll get the job. That's not how it works. They really, really want real. They want the real, authentic person that is you. Again, if you don't know who that is yet, it's gonna be really hard to give a good audition. In short, auditioning is a separate skill all in itself. It is something that you either do well or you don't do well. And it takes everybody a different amount of time to be good at it. There are still times these days where I'll get auditions for commercial scripts and I'm just like, what is that? And I find myself trying to be a mind reader and guess what they want. And I have to talk myself down off that ledge and be like, just tell the story from my point of view. Just give them your point of view, DJ, and hope for the best. If they like it, they like it. If they don't, they don't. One of the greatest feelings about doing that is when you submit an audition that is just you being real and raw. And hey, hope you like it. When they book you and they bring you into that directed session, it's so much easier to go into a session knowing that you gave a read that is exactly you. You don't have to pretend to be anybody else. Number 4, there are a lot of people in this industry who are eager and willing to separate you from your dollars or euros or whatever currency you use. One example of that is a demo mill. A demo mill is a company that will offer you to produce a demo or 5 demos, a package deal. And they may even have some coaches on the roster that will train you for a few weeks, maybe 5 classes, 6 classes. And then they'll funnel you into getting a pro demo. Their target audience is not me. Their target audience are new voice actors who don't know the industry. They don't know any better. And they just hear that they need a pro demo. We'll talk about demos here in a second. But they know that you don't need a pro demo just yet, and you're not ready for a pro demo, but they're not going to tell you you're not ready for a pro demo. They'll puff you up and let you think that everything's great until you get in there and you realize that all of the reads on your demo kind of sound the same. And it's like a pretty shitty demo because your demo just does not show a good range, and it doesn't really have any good reads. But they don't care at these demo mills. You paid them the money, that's all they care about. Did they fulfill their promise? Did they give you a pro demo? They sure did. It sounds great from the sound design perspective. The demo is not about sound design. It is about highlighting your performance. And that's why a pro demo is so important, because you want to show people that you have these skills. You are an actor. You can give your point of view. You can't develop a point of view in 6 weeks, guys. Not enough for a pro demo. Also, choose your coaches wisely. There are so many people who call themselves voiceover coaches, and I'm not going to disparage anybody, but not everybody is a performance coach. Marketing skills, direct marketing, or maybe like business coaching or accountability, that's a completely separate topic. But I'm talking strictly performance. Not everybody is cut out to be a performance coach. I made a whole video about coaching, and I'll go ahead and link that here for you. It tells you some things you should consider when choosing a coach. Please make sure you vet your coaches and never, ever feel guilty or be guilt-tripped into booking more sessions. Because some coaches will ask you at the end of the session, so when can I put you in for another session? And you just had a whole hour and you're like, I'm not feeling any of this. And it's that pressure, you're like, next week maybe? And now you're on the hook for another session. If it's not a good fit for you, move on. There's so many coaches. 5, we talked about pro demos. Hold off on pro demos, guys. Pro demos, firstly, are very expensive. Like the top demo producers, we're talking like starting at $2,500 for one demo. That's expensive. You want to make sure that your performance, your acting skills are up to par, and you will get good value and return on that demo when you decide to record it. A good demo producer, in my opinion, should be vetting you as much as you are vetting them, because their reputation is on the line. All of their demos go out into the world. And if somebody hears a shitty demo, or an agent hears a shitty demo, and they're like, who produced that demo? It can tarnish their reputation. Every reputable demo producer that I've gone to has asked about my career. They've asked about some stuff that I booked. They want to know who I coached with, and they'll reach out to that coach and say, hey, is this guy good to record? All right, then they'll get that okay from that coach, and then I'm good to record. If they don't ask those questions, it's a red flag. All right, your spidey senses should be tingling. I'm going to end this one by saying a pro demo, is my opinion, a pro demo, its only true purpose, is if you're trying to get agency representation. If you're trying to get an agent, especially on the coasts, LA and New York, if you're trying to get a manager, if you're really trying to level up your career and land multiple regional agents, that's the time for a pro demo. And again, your performance needs to be up to par before you record that. But if you're just trying to join a pay-to-play site like voices.com, or if you're trying to be on Fiverr or Upwork, or even if you're trying to do some direct marketing, a pro demo's return on investment is really not that good. On these pay-to-plays, you still have to audition. You might get the occasional person finds you and, hey, sends you a message, we loved your demo, but most of them are still going to ask you to read for their script. And so, the demo isn't really that helpful, And on Fiverr, there are DIY demos all over the place on Fiverr, and these people are booking jobs left and right. Again, I don't think it's necessary unless you're really trying to get representation. People may think differently, but that's how I feel. Number 6, some people think it's okay to do every single audition that comes to them on voices.com or Voice123 on these pay-to-play sites. They'll do everything. Audiobooks, characters, commercial, corporate narration, IVR. They don't give a damn. They will do everything, and they'll say, it's practice. It's just me building my skills. I argue against that. I used to think that way. But I argue against that for a couple of reasons. The first is the algorithm. On voices.com and Voice123, if you submit a bunch of auditions and don't get shortlisted because your performance wasn't good, it drops you in the algorithm. You're not going to be seen. Secondly, doing a bunch of auditions for a bunch of different genres is not really going to push the needle for you. Be picky about the auditions that you do on the pay-to-plays. Your ROI will be a lot better. Your shortlist ratio will be a lot better. Your bookings will be more often. I would argue that's the case. And lastly, number 7, agents are awesome. I have multiple agents, and I love my agents. They take care of me. They've always taken care of me as long as we've had our business relationship. I also have managers. It's one of those relationships that I really value, and I do not take it for granted because I know how hard it is to get agency representation. However, they're becoming pickier. Agents have to be pickier. They don't want to cannibalize their own roster by bringing on somebody that they already have 3 of. You know what I'm saying? Which means you shouldn't reach out to an agent unless you are ready. How do you know you're ready for an agent? You know you're ready when you are consistently getting shortlisted. You're consistently booking. You have people reaching out for auditions. You have people in your direct clients reaching out for jobs. You have production companies that are tagging you on jobs and say, hey, audition for this. If you are building a book of business by yourself, I would say that it's a good time to reach out to an agent if you want to add another part of your marketing wheel, another slice of the pie. You don't want to reach out to an agent if you just got out of acting school or out of an acting course or some boot camp and say, okay, my next step after this course is to get an agent. The agent's going to ask you, okay, what have you done lately? What have you booked? Any campaigns? What's your last job you booked? How long has it been? Who did you coach with? If you don't have a good answer for that question, the agent's just going to move on. They have way more people in the inbox they can choose from. Secondly, going with an agent is not necessary. You can build a whole voiceover career without representation. I have colleagues that do it, and it's not uncommon these days to have a very successful voiceover career. Whatever success means to you may be different, but to have a successful voiceover career with zero representation. However, agents do give you the access to these really big jobs, or at least the audition for the job. If that's your point of getting an agent, is to have access to that, fine. What an agent is not for is to basically put your feet up and say, I'm gonna wait for my agent to send me some auditions. That is not a sustainable business choice. Thinking about it right now, off the top of my head, last year, 2024, out of all of the money that I made, only 36% of my work came from agents. Only 36%. I didn't have a manager yet. The figures may be different this year, but only 36%. Some people say an agent shouldn't be more than 30% of your total book of value, voiceover book of value. Regardless, an agent is not 100% of my money. I have other sources of revenue for voiceover: direct marketing, pay-to-plays, online casting sites, people who just find me on Google search. I optimize my website for search. All of these avenues are ways to get auditions or bookings and get more revenue, right? So if you're trying to reach out to an agent because you need work, that's not the right way to think about it. An agent's manager is a partnership, and they are simply there to add more to whatever it is you're doing on your own. If you approach it that way, then you should understand why it doesn't make sense to reach out to an agent after only 6 weeks of a boot camp. And I'm not trying to talk down to you, but I really need to drive these points home. Many voice actors lose their motivation. They do. They lose their motivation because what they thought would be a road to success and is paved with gold and all of these things that they heard, and they see all these successful voice actors that they want to have a career like, the reality is far different. Again, the majority of voice actors make less than $50,000 a year, and the majority of that majority make less than $25,000. It's not a very high-paying job for most people. If you think you have what it takes to be at the top, by all means, go for it. But understand the things I mentioned in this video, there are some steps you have to take first. And the ones who can put in the hours, your chances of success increase exponentially.